Hello and a very good evening. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. This is the news at 6 with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this evening's headlines. Months of bitter campaigning comes to an end in the United States. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump conclude final pitches for the White House as voting begins to choose Barack Obama's successor. National Green Tribunal orders week-long ban on construction in Delhi and National Capital Region to battle pollution, questions state government's decision to shut down schools. Pakistani troops target Indian posts on the line of control in Nausheda sector of Rajouri district, kill one army Jawan. Separatists meet traders and other organizations to normalize the situation in the valley. And Supreme Court permits BCCI to incur expense of 58.66 lakh rupees for India-England test match in Rajkot. Orders cricket body to make payments directly and not transfer funds to Saurashtra. Well, the Supreme Court today came down heavily on the centre for not having any policy to tackle the rising pollution in the national capital. It gave the centre 48 hours to devise a minimum programme to deal with pollution. Meanwhile, the National Green Tribunal also banned any kind of construction in Delhi and NCR region for the next 7 days. Here are the details.
The National Green Tribunal ordered a week-long ban on construction in Delhi and National Capital Region. A bench headed by NGT chairperson Swatantra Kumar also questioned if any scientific study was conducted before shutting down schools due to air pollution. Slamming Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and UP for not taking prior steps to control crop burning, NGT directed the 4 states and Delhi to give complete mechanism on implementation of its directions to curb air pollution.
कॉर्पोरेशन को और डीडीए को इन दोनों विभागों से कहा गया है कि जो भी आपकी जितनी भी मैन पावर है, जितने भी स्ट्रेंथ हैं आपके, उनमें से तकरीबन आधे लोगों को आप डिप्लॉय करें और उनको फील्ड में लगाएं और खासकर जो गार्बेज बर्निंग की या फिर कंस्ट्रक्शन मटेरियल जो सड़क पे पड़े रहते हैं या जो भी साइट इस तरह से ऑपरेशनल है जहां पे कि प्रॉपर केयर नहीं लिया जा रहा, उसको लेकर आप थोड़ा ज़्यादा स्ट्रिक्ट एक्शन लें.
In another petition filed by environmentalists, the Supreme Court directed the centre to devise a common minimum programme to deal with pollution by Thursday.
If the pollution level is, say, 200, which is double of what is the safe limit, you may decide to close down schools. If it is 400, you may decide to take the cars off the road. If it is 600, you may decide to shut down the entire city. So what is your common minimum graded response to a pollution emergency? That's what the Chief Justice wants the Union government to come up with.
Meanwhile, capital Delhi continued to struggle with the worst pollution in 17 years on Tuesday. While visibility improved marginally as winds swept through the region, levels of PM 2.5 remained at hazardous levels at 202 micrograms per cubic meter. The prescribed standards of PM 2.5 is 60, and anything beyond that can harm the respiratory system as the ultrafine particulates can embed deep into the lungs and also enter the bloodstream. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, moving on now, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said today that despite calls for protectionism in the world, India was looking to open its economy further. Now, Jaitley also said that the centre will step up on reforms to attract more investment and bridge infrastructure deficit.
India is impatient to achieve higher growth, says the Finance Minister. Pointing out that India needs investments at the Indo-UK Trade Summit, Arun Jaitley enumerated several reforms initiated by the government. He said the India growth story is borne out by the fact that highways and rural roads are growing at one of the fastest rates in the world.
We are growing faster compared to the rest of the world, but by our own standards, we are still not satisfied. There is a great amount of impatience in India and a far greater amount of realization that we can grow much faster.
In line with British Prime Minister Theresa May's pitch for free trade, Jaitley emphasised the opportunities for joint ventures between India and the UK.
Between the United Kingdom and India, it's a relationship which is going to grow leaps and bounds. And I think the best of this relationship, which we have seen evolving over the last 7 decades, is yet to come.
The finance minister added that after deciding to quit the European Union, Britain is looking outside Europe and sees countries like India as a future partner in trade. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Another news now, British Prime Minister Theresa May was on a day-long visit to Bengaluru today. She had a packed schedule ranging from meeting Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah to visiting an industrial facility, meeting school students and also stopping by the ancient Someshwara temple. Before flying out to London, she also met a business delegation from the small and medium enterprises in the city.
British Prime Minister Theresa May met Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah in Bengaluru on Tuesday. During the bilateral meeting, Siddaramaiah urged May to review UK's new visa rules, saying movement of skilled technical workers from India should be seen as a trade priority. Siddaramaiah also requested May to grant time-bound visas for Indian software engineers to work on projects in Britain and return to India.
One of the reasons why London is such a successful city is because, like a magnet, it attracts talented, bright people from around the world. And that is one of the main reasons. And we must, especially in the post-Brexit world, if we want to continue to be successful, we must have our doors open to the talent. And we must have our doors open to the skilled workers from around the world. And that is why I'm urging Prime Minister Theresa May to relax the visa rules so that we can attract the high-skilled workers from around the world, including from India.
The British Prime Minister also visited a government school on the outskirts of Bengaluru. She interacted with school children and watched an air show.
ಇಂಥ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಸಿಕ್ಕಲ್ಲ, ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತುಂಬ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯಿತು. ತುಂಬ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯಿತು. ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಿರೋ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೂ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೆ ಬಂದು ವಿಸಿಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾರಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ತುಂಬ ಅದೃಷ್ಟ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ನಮ್ಮಂಥ ಲಕ್ಕಿ ಯಾರೂ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಎಂಥ ದೊಡ್ಡ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಎಷ್ಟು.
Also on her itinerary was a visit to the ancient Someshwar temple. The 15th century temple is one of the oldest in Karnataka, dating back to the Chola period. Theresa May is the fourth British Prime Minister to visit Bengaluru as part of her 3-day maiden official visit to India, the first outside the European Union after she assumed office in July this year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, at a time when Britain and the United States are tightening their visa regimes, Canada is launching more innovative visa processes. The government is specifically focusing on skilled Indians and students who can not only work in Canada, but even choose to make it their permanent home. Our correspondent Akhilesh Suman spoke with John McCallum, Canadian Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, to understand the latest initiatives. Let's listen in.
So, are you going to relax visa norms for Indians in Canada?
Well, we're taking strong measures to promote immigration. I'll mention two areas. We've just announced a global talent strategy, which will make it much easier for high-tech workers to come to Canada on temporary visas. It'll only take 4 weeks to process it, and we want to welcome many more. The second area is international students. I think international students will make the best future Canadians, and so we're going to make it easier for international students to become permanent residents.
So there are so many skilled workers in India, and there's many Indian companies who are working in Canada, like in restaurant and other fields. They sometimes tell that there's a visa for those skilled workers are not easy, and they are facing some problems.
We also have our express entry system, which allows skilled people in, and there's a 6-month processing time.
So is there any special treatment, or is there any preference you are going to give to students who can go there, study and also work there?
Absolutely. What we're going to do is we're going to give international students more points under what we call express entry, so it will be easier for international students to become permanent residents of Canada.
There is another category of Indians who have capacity to live in Canada, but they're not skilled workers, but they have money, they have capital, they can go and stay in Canada, they can become a citizen of Canada, they can live for the whole life. So is there any consideration for such types of people who are wealthy, but they have passed their age like 50 or so?
We don't have an investor program, if that's what you mean. We do not have a program where if you invest a certain amount of money, you're guaranteed permanent residence. We have programs for skilled workers. We also have a very important family class. And we're working very hard to make it quicker for husband and wife to come to Canada faster.
Well, moving on. Now another army Jawan was killed in unprovoked firing by Pakistani troops on Tuesday. Pakistani Rangers resorted to heavy shelling along the line of control in Nowshera sector of Rajouri district in Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, Pakistan has once again summoned the Indian Deputy High Commissioner over the alleged unprovoked firing by Indian forces along the LOC. Here's more.
Pakistani troops once again targeted Indian positions along the line of control in Nowshera sector of Rajouri district in Jammu and Kashmir on Tuesday. Pakistan used 82 mm mortar shells to target Indian troops guarding the border. The attack was strongly retaliated by Indian forces.
We have lost a brave heart today. He has been martyred, and we are giving a befitting reply to the Pakistan army, and we are going to hit them hard where it hits them the hardest. The Indian army is taking all measures as far as the unprovoked ceasefire violation retaliation is concerned.
On Monday, Pakistani troops violated the ceasefire and targeted Mankot and Balakot areas of Mendhar sector in Poonch district.
We want peace with all our neighbors, but at the same time we are proud of our forces. Our forces are capable of defending our borders.
Meanwhile, the last rites of slain soldier Naik Rajendra Narayan were performed in his native village in Maharashtra's Kolhapur district. Narayan was killed in unprovoked firing by Pakistani Rangers in the Poonch sector on Sunday. Amid the ongoing tensions, opposition parties have slammed the state government for the recent burning of schools in the valley.
Because the schools are being burnt, there is a definite scheme under which is being done. And every day she says, in 1 week I'll give you the names. Where are those names? We would like to know who are the ones who are burning these schools.
Ask them this question. Why is it happening? They are the government. They are the governance. I do not hold people responsible. This is the present government of Jammu and Kashmir, led by Mehbooba.
With the unrest entering the 123rd day in the valley, separatists held a meeting with the traders and other organizations to discuss issues regarding the ongoing uprising and education. Meanwhile, Pakistan summoned India's Deputy High Commissioner JP Singh for the fourth time in just over a week and lodged a strong protest over alleged unprovoked ceasefire violations by Indian forces along the line of control. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, amid mounting tensions, India on Tuesday recalled 3 diplomats stationed at its High Commission in Islamabad. The identities of the 3 diplomats had been made public last week by Pakistan's Foreign Office, which charged them with spying. According to a PTI report, the 3 Indian officials left Islamabad for New Delhi on Tuesday. The decision to recall was taken as their security had been completely compromised by Pakistan, with their names and photographs published and broadcast in the media there. Well, it's time for a short break now, but we'll be back with the latest from the US elections on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, after months of bitter campaigning, the world's most powerful nation will have a new leader soon. Voting to choose Barack Obama's successor began earlier today. Ahead of voting, however, Clinton and Trump made final pitches to woo voters. Here's a detailed report. The wait is finally over. The US election began earlier today with many polling booths on the East Coast opening at 6 a.m. Eastern Time or 11 a.m. GMT. Polling booths opened in all 50 states and in Washington, D.C. across 6 time zones. Voting will close between midnight and 1 a.m. GMT on November 9th. In Iowa and North Dakota, polls are open till 2 a.m. GMT. However, the first ballots were cast in a sleepy hamlet in New Hampshire, traditionally the first in the nation to vote on election day, with Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton winning the contest. Clinton registered her first win in the 2016 elections by 4 votes to 2 against her Republican rival Donald Trump soon after midnight in the remote northeastern part of the US. The first votes of the election were cast just after midnight by the residents of Dixwell Notch, New Hampshire. There was hectic campaigning ahead of voting. President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama sought to lift Hillary Clinton to victory, while Donald Trump warned she was the face of failure and predicted he would blow her away in Tuesday's election. On a dramatic final day of the ugliest campaign in modern history, the candidates and their surrogates held nearly 24 rallies, chased one another through swing states and made desperate last pleas to voters. In North Carolina, Hillary Clinton held her last major campaign speech of the election season into the very early hours of Tuesday.
Tomorrow we face the test of our time. So remember, it's not just my name or Donald Trump's name on the ballot. It's the kind of country we want. It's every issue anyone cares about.
Earlier, at Hillary Clinton's rally in Philadelphia, the Obamas called for Americans to head to the polls and cast their votes for the nation's first female president.
A country where a passionate, outspoken young woman, determined to do all the good she can go on to break the highest, hardest glass ceiling and become our president. That is the power you have and the history you can make tomorrow, but only if we get out and vote for Hillary Clinton. So can we count on you? Can Hillary count on you? We've got to get this done. You've got to get out and vote. We can make this happen.
In America, I'm betting on you one more time. I'm betting that tomorrow, most mom and dads across America won't cast their vote for someone who denigrates their daughters from the highest office in the land.
Trump, meanwhile, presented himself as the face of change for Americans whom he said had been let down by a corrupt political system.
Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to seek the office of the presidency of the United States. She is being protected by a totally rigged system that I've been talking about for a long time. It's a rigged system. Now it's up to the American people to deliver justice at the ballot box. And I don't have to say, do it tomorrow, do it in a week. You're going to do it today. You'll go to sleep for a couple of hours, right? We're hours away from a once-in-a-lifetime change. We're going to have real change, not Obama change.
The nominees have done everything that they possibly can. And after nearly 2 years of bitterness and rancor, it is for the people of the United States to elect their 45th president. Who will it be, Hillary or Trump? We just have to wait a few more hours to find out. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, I'm now joined by Vincent Palathingal, Executive Director, Indo-American Center. Vincent is also a Republican supporter. Vincent, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television and thank you for joining me on the program. So tell us about the state of the race itself. Who has the advantage today on polling day?
It is definitely Hillary having some advantage, though not major. But as far as I am concerned, I think this election is a different election. It's not going to be like typical elections. So I personally believe these polls are not going to be completely trustworthy at this point. If you look at Brexit, what happened is, as you all know, all the polls were suggesting that Britain is going to stay with the Union, European Union. But finally, when it came, the results were the opposite.
Right.
So I believe that is what is going to happen here, because a lot of the rural base is really energized for Trump. They're going to come out in larger numbers and vote, unlike we have seen in past elections. And that is going to lead to a Trump victory.
Interesting what you're saying there, that's going to lead to a Trump victory. But now let's remember, Trump has to win some of the battleground states such as Florida and Pennsylvania, and even he may have to flip a Democratic state such as Michigan. What are your thoughts on that?
He definitely has to win a couple of those states. Florida is a state where Obama won by just 1 point. And from the news, even from the regular polls that I just saw today, he's trailing just by 1 point. So Florida is really a toss-up at this point. Pennsylvania may be a tougher battle for him, but at the same time, he's really focusing so much energy on Michigan, which has a lot of industries shut down, a lot of manufacturing jobs lost. So he's thinking that the rural Michigan is really upset with the Democrats, and that is going to be in his favor. So I don't know which those states are going to be, but I'm thinking a couple of those states that were not in the Romney column in 2012 are going to turn red, and that is what is going to be his path to success.
You know, Trump has lately attempted to court Indian Americans, and that I found extremely interesting. He attended a major rally last month as well. How do you think the Indian Americans are going to vote today?
See, Indian Americans always seem to be believing somehow that they're born to be Democrats. They, vast majority of Indian Americans supported Democrats, and without really having much of a substance to that kind of a belief. We are very conservative when it comes to our values. All Indian Americans are mostly very family oriented, very conservative when it comes to financial policies. They're very hardworking, they're rich, high income brackets, a lot of small business owners. So most of the policies that will be helping the Indian community is definitely on the Republican side of things. But at the same time, we somehow happen to believe that we are supposed to be Democrats. See, I personally am an Obama voter both times, 2008 and 2012. But I started realizing, especially with the damage Obamacare has done to small businesses and high income brackets, and the overtime rule that he just, through an executive order he just enacted a few months ago. I realized that this is time for us to understand that we have to really support the movement, the party that is supportive of our causes. And I think a lot of Indians have to recognize that. And maybe it was a time this year for that to happen.
Indeed, that seems like a very valid assessment. Thank you so much, Vincent Palathingal, for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Now, meanwhile, of course, people in the United States are gearing up to vote for the 45th president of their country. However, on the home turf, equity markets have turned jittery as the gap between the two candidates narrowed in opinion polls. How will Indian equity and currency markets react to this event? Let's take a look.
The markets are keeping a close watch on the US presidential election. Experts say a Hillary Clinton win will steady the ship, while a Trump victory will inject volatility. Evidence of this was seen when the benchmark Sensex cheered the FBI clean sheet to Hillary Clinton in the personal email server probe to gain on Monday.
Clinton wins, then market will be happy, and the fear which has gripped the market for a few days, I think that would be over and market will become more stable. If Trump wins, yes, in short term, the markets will go down because the global markets are expected to see a lot of sell-off.
Many Indian information technology and pharmaceutical stocks have substantial revenue exposure to the US. A Clinton victory will have implications due to a greater possibility of US drug price regulation. A Trump victory, on the other hand, could hit IT companies with likely checks on outsourcing and immigration.
He is a threat to the companies, especially who are exporting services to the US economy. As a matter of fact, approximately Indian IT industries exporting IT services to the tune of 90 billion, and major of the services are going to the US, approximately 60%.
Overall, the US elections are likely to influence the Indian market in the short term. But in the longer run, the macro Indian economic picture will drive the market. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on to some sports news now. In a major relief, the Supreme Court today permitted the BCCI to incur expense of 58.66 lakh rupees for the India-England Test match to be played in Rajkot on Wednesday. The apex court ordered the BCCI to make payments directly to parties concerned, and the contract and funds will not be transferred to the Saurashtra cricket body. The court has also permitted the BCCI to make similar arrangements of incurring funds for international matches till the 3rd of December. The apex court was approached by the BCCI on Tuesday for dispersal of funds to the State Cricket Association, saying that the non-dispersal would lead to cancellation of the first test match to be played between India and England at Rajkot on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the BCCI has already informed the England and Wales Cricket Board ECB to bear the expenses of its players' lodging and boarding for the series, which has 5 tests and 3 50-over and 20-over matches each. And finally, friends and colleagues paid their last respects to Rajya Sabha television anchor Girish Nikam, who passed away in New Delhi after a massive cardiac arrest. Nikam's body was taken to Bengaluru for the last rites today. Several political leaders and media personalities were among those who visited the Rajya Sabha television office, where the senior journalist's body was brought in the morning.
ये बहुत दुखी का बात है. It's a great loss to this press industries.
एक बहुत बड़ा शौक है कि इस तरीके से मतलब अचानक वो गुजर गए और हमारे बीच में नहीं है. गिरीश को तो मैं कई अरसों से जानता हूँ, मतलब और उनको जानता भी हूँ, उनकी कमिटमेंट क्या है, उनके वैल्यूज़ क्या है.
एकदम जिसको कहते हैं ना ट्रू ब्लू प्रोफेशनल थे अपने काम के प्रति. और उनका परिवार जैसे बता रहा था, पिछले साल जब उनको हार्ट प्रॉब्लम हुआ तो कहते थे कि मैं जब जाऊं तो काम करते हुए जाऊं.
Well, that's it on this edition of the Bulletin. Have a good evening.